friends, today we're going to talk about intuitive eating and how to elevate your game with intuitive eating. So if you don't know, my whole practice is centered around the science of sports nutrition and combining that with intuitive eating. I really believe that you need both when it comes to female athlete sports nutrition. So I'm going to tell you a little backstory first about me. When I was in middle school and high school, I was a competitive swimmer. I used to eat pretty much anything and everything. People used to call me bottomless pit, and I was really great at swimming. I loved it. I did really well with it, and I had no influence from the outside, like social media or magazines or the TV telling me, well, don't eat this, don't eat that, or you're going to get fat, except for my family. So my mom was always on a diet. My older sister started joining in on that when she got a little bit older. And so I thought that that was kind of normal. So eventually it kind of got to me where I felt like because I was more muscular than my best friend who was really, petite and skinny at the time, I just felt like that was something that I should do. I should start restricting. So when I got into college, I wasn't competitively swimming anymore, but I was still swimming, and I got into triathlons, and I really started to restrict my intake primarily because I started looking at these magazines, these fitness magazines, where it had a cover model on there that just looked absolutely beautiful. She was very toned and chiseled and just looked wonderful, and I wanted to look like her. I was jealous. And so in those magazines, it would tell me about how to put together diet plans and what foods you should avoid and how you should only be eating boiled chicken with hot sauce and things along those lines. And so over the years, that really kind of spiraled out of control into a multi-year battle with disordered eating. It really became bad one time when I was doing a triathlon, and I ate a salad the night before my race. My roommate at the time, who knew nothing about nutrition, actually said, "Kristen, don't you need to eat more than a salad the night before a triathlon?" And the morning of, I had a small breakfast. I did not bring any snacks with me to the race, and I only had a Gatorade G2 with me on a bike, or the bike ride. And a Gatorade G2 is just calorie-free Gatorade. So it was not helping me. I wound up having a migraine. I had to stop and ask a police officer if he had any food. And luckily he had a Nature Valley granola bar. So I ate that, and that made my headache go away. But as you can imagine, it was a terrible race. On the run, I had such bad cramping that I had to stop multiple times. And people kept asking me if I was okay because they thought I was dying on the side of the course, which I was not, but I sure as hell felt like it. So I'm going to share with you my experience of getting into intuitive eating, how that applies to you, and how you can really just put that into practice today. So this will be very tangible ways that you can implement this into your life. So that's really, I think, what saved me from years of disordered eating, that and finding Jesus. And so I'm going to share that with you today. So intuitive eating, what is it? Intuitive eating is really, as it boils down, into being in tune with your body, what foods make you feel good, what foods make you have good energy and are best for your body. So that it's not going to be across the board the same for everybody, but what is ideal for your body. It's also rejecting the diet mentality. So, people are going to say, oh, well, you can't have that and you can't have that. That's the food police. That's dieting. We are not doing all of that. We are just kind of getting that out of our systems. It's also eating when you are physically hungry and full, and trusting that your body is going to tell you when you are hungry and you're full. But at the same time, you're eating for physical hunger as well as satisfaction. I truly, truly believe that God gave us the ability to eat for physical reasons, but also for emotional and mental reasons. And I don't know if any of you lost your taste if you had COVID, but it was a really boring time to eat. I really didn't even want to eat during that time. So let's talk about how intuitive eating can help your athletic performance. So first of all, it will improve your relationship with your body and with food. So this is going to allow you to feel like you can't allow you to feel like you can actually eat things that maybe you have felt like were off limits. For example, carbohydrates or fats are the two primary things that I find that female athletes struggle with, feeling like they can't have those. So it's going to basically free you up so that you can eat those things and feel okay with it and not feel guilty about it. It's going to allow for a greater variety of foods within your diet. And when you have a greater variety of foods in your diet, you actually get in more vitamins and minerals that your body needs to perform optimally. And when you are an athlete, you tend to need a little bit more of those. It also helps with an easier transition between in-season training, off-season training. If you have maybe an injury and you're taking some time off, or you retire from your sport, or whatever happens, if some reason why you need to take some time off from your sport, you don't feel like your eating is so dependent on your training. Your body will naturally be able to tell you, I'm not as hungry today, so you just don't have to eat quite as much to fulfill those hunger and fullness signals. And also, it's going to help you to adapt to different eating situations. For example, if you're going to eat at a friend's house, or you're going to go out to dinner that night, or you're going to be traveling, it allows you to be more flexible with your eating and not feel like you have to follow some rigid plan. So, like I mentioned, I really like to combine the science of sports nutrition with intuitive eating. And so, intuitive eating, I feel like, is just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to putting together a solid nutrition plan. So, if you are an athlete and you are performing in a sport, you may have workouts that are going to be harder and more intense. And I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but it's certainly happened to me, where if I have a more intense workout, I don't really feel that hungry afterwards. I actually feel like food is just not that appealing. But that's where sports nutrition comes in, and actually having a plan put together for you helps, where you can say, okay, I know that I need to eat around my workouts. And what I mean by plan is really having like a rough draft of a plan, nutrient timing and an idea of what that would look like. So I know that I need to eat around my training session. So I'm going to go ahead and have a yogurt. Maybe I'll just have a spoonful for right now, and that helps to stimulate your appetite, with a few berries on top, and then I'll eat the rest later. That's perfectly okay. It's also going to be balancing your plate. So balancing your plate looks like having all macronutrients on there. So protein, carbohydrates, and fat. And the amounts of those are going to change based off of your activity level for the day. For example, if you have a harder run or weightlifting session or training session, you're going to eat more carbohydrates, as opposed to a day where it's either an off day or it's a very easy training day. You're going to eat a little less carbohydrates, but your protein is still going to stay the same. You're still having all those components. It's just the amounts that are going to change on there. Also, you're going to create, like I said, a rough schedule of eating. So know that you're going to eat within an hour of waking up, and then every couple of hours from there. Sometimes with athletes and just people in general, you have life commitments, and it's really hard to follow a schedule. So that's why I say a rough schedule. We're going to plan with an open hand, which means that things have to be flexible. So what I mean by that is, if you know at your normal lunchtime of 12 o'clock, you actually have a meeting, or you have a class or a training session, and you can't eat at that time, we're just going to slightly shift up your lunch. So you're going to eat at 11:30 as opposed to 12. You may not be as hungry as you normally would for your lunch at 11:30, but that's okay, because if you don't eat at 12 or at 11:30, then you know that by the time you get done your meeting or your class or your training schedule, you're going to be ravenous. So we're going to be a little more proactive on things. It's also eating when you are hungry. If you are still hungry, let's say you ate lunch and you're like, that didn't fill me up as much as I thought it would. I really feel a little hungry after that. Go ahead and eat some more. No big deal. It is being very flexible with all that. Also, it is learning to recognize when your hunger and fullness cues are reliable. So what I mean by that is if all of this is new to you, your hunger and fullness signals may not be very reliable in the beginning, and that's okay. It takes practice. Being in tune with your body is something that does not come naturally to people as they get older. When you're a baby, absolutely. As you get older, we kind of lose that skill just because life happens. So it takes a little bit of time and it takes some practice. So what you're going to do is once you feel like your hunger and your fullness signals are reliable, then you can rely on them more rather than feeling like, okay, I need to eat at this time, eat at this time, eat at this time, or need to follow this amount of protein at my meal, so on and so forth. You get the idea. It's also incorporating eating for pleasure. So what that means is I don't mean going and binging on, 3 bags of chips, but what I do mean is maybe if you baked a batch of cookies and they smell wonderful, just go ahead and have a cookie. Who cares? No big deal. Your body is not going to freak out on you because you had one single cookie. Your body is very flexible, and so we want to be flexible with it. So the last thing that I want to say in here is to not have food rules like I can't eat prepackaged foods, or I can't eat foods where they have chemical compounds in them. Did you know that cyanocobalamin is a compound that is found naturally in meats and eggs and dairy? And you want to know what it is? It's just a fancy name for vitamin B12. But people think, oh, because I can't pronounce it, I can't eat it. But that's a naturally occurring compound, and it is completely okay to eat. I understand the premise behind it, but it's really not going to be true in all cases. So we really want to look at, what foods are going to be helping us, and if it's eating some prepackaged foods that, aren't, absolute junk, then go ahead and incorporate them into your diet to help you out. So this is really kind of what intuitive eating looks like and how you can implement it. There's lots of components to it, and this is something that I would love to help you with incorporating into your day-to-day diet or day-to-day training, really. And if this is something that you feel like you need help with, please let me know. I'm happy to help you with that. But one of the things I really want to invite you all to do is, since you're on here watching, I have a podcast that I am starting, and it'll be all about these topics: intuitive eating combined with sports nutrition, specifically for female athletes that underfuel. And I used to be one of them, and I work with a lot of them. So I want to share my knowledge, and I want you to help me because I need your help to get the word out. So all I need you to do is to help me be on my podcast launch team. I will be launching this podcast on October 29th. So that's just really a little over 2 weeks away. What I need for you to do is on that launch day, just simply listen to the podcast and then write me a review and then share the podcast on your social media channels. And I'm actually giving away a $50 Amazon gift card for drawing for an Amazon gift card for anybody that is willing to be on my podcast launch team. So if you are interested in that, all you need to do is just comment below, yes, I want to be on your launch team, and I will add you to the list. I'll keep you updated on things. I may even ask you for, your opinion on some things. I'll give you all the updates as we go along, and I'll remind you about launch day. But like I said, I need your help to get the word out, and I would love for you to be there to help me with that. So if you're interested, please just comment below that you want to help me with that. And of course, if you found value in this resonated with you, please, please, please like this video, share it with a friend, invite them to join this Facebook group. I really appreciate it. And thanks for watching. I hope you have a good rest of the day.